It's 11:32. Let's start. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. And thank you.
Good morning.
And thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday morning. This is the only day of the week where we thought we could whisk away some time from all of you for this forum, considering the super busy schedules we all have on weekdays. We've got a brilliant session for all of you today. In this webinar, we'll be discussing how the hospitality industry is one of the most resilient in the world and has successfully rebuilt itself time and time again. And it will do the same now as well. Then we'll also be talking about the incredibly valuable education we impart to our students and what our Swiss and Singaporean partnerships mean to your child's prospects. We'll also be showing you some amazing real-life alumni of the programs we offer and showing you just how many incredible prospects are waiting for your child after ISH. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our amazing panel of the industry and academic legends, all who will play an active part in your child's education. I'd like to start with Dr. Markanday.
Yeah, hi.
Dr. Markanday is the Vice Chancellor of Gurugram University and Indira Gandhi University, and he's one of the most prolific educators of today. A man who has dedicated his life to medicine and education. Dr. Markanday is an accomplished eye surgeon with more than, hold your breath, 2.8 lakh surgeries under his aegis. And as a Vice Chancellor is now working tirelessly to bring a better and a brighter era of higher education to India. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Markanday. It's an absolute...
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you, Kunal, for giving me an opportunity to be with the parents.
Pleasure, pleasure. Next, we have our very own founder and CEO, Dilip Puri, an industry veteran with over 30 years of experience. Dilip has made history during his time as Managing Director of Starwoods and Resorts. He is one of the most prolific thought leaders in hospitality of our time. He's also the driving force behind ISH's amazing and unmatched industry connect. It's his thoroughness and his ability to challenge status quo business environments that makes him one of the most successful disruptors of hospitality and hospitality education. Dilip, welcome and good morning.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Finally, our Dean of Culinary and Practical Arts, Chef Rajiv Gulshan, an enthusiastic and motivated educator, a leader with extensive knowledge in all aspects of learning psychology. Rajiv has received accolades from the likes of OCLD, Le Cordon Bleu, and has worked with Asia's best restaurants. In 2015, Rajiv was conferred the lifelong fellowship by the Department of Education Australia. So I've kind of highlighted that in blue because he's some kind of a blue blood of academia. My name is Kunal, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Indian School of Hospitality and the moderator for the morning today. Just a little housekeeping before we get started, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions during the conversation, please type them into your question box and I'll bring them up with the panelists. And we also have time for questions at the end. Dr. Markanday, my first question is to you.
Yeah, sure.
You established Gurugram University around the same time Indian School of Hospitality opened. You've been there from day one. In your opinion, how has ISH contributed to Haryana's education landscape as an institution? And my follow-up question to that also would be, how do you think and what do you think sets ISH apart?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Kunal, for having me on this discussion. In fact, the first day when I was in the rest house of Gurugram, the first persons I met were you and Dilip. And in fact, so I have a lot to share with you because the first interaction in the university is always probably your lifelong interaction also. Now, you see, India has almost 1,000 universities, including private and the government. India has about 50,000 colleges of higher education. So as it is to stand apart amongst them, you have to have a different kind of everything. You see, the best part, as you asked me, what differentiates ISH from other institutions is, that if you look at the history of educational institutions in India, recent days, last 30 years, we have seen a mushrooming of the higher education institutions. And in this mushrooming, everybody has come into play. You see, those brick kiln owners, those petty industrialists, they have all come into this business of higher education, thinking that it is not a mission, but it is only money spinning project. But I was happy to note that you and Dilip, being thorough professionals and managing an institution which belongs to your profession, is an added advantage to your institution, because you are not managed by somebody who is just pumping in money. You are managed by those individuals who have brains to pump into it, who have knowledge to pump into it, who have the practical experience to pump into it. And that is very important for any educational institution which is to come up, to have a professional management. That is very important. That's first thing which differentiates ISH from other institutions. The second very important thing is that teachers, what we get in government, of course, there are a few brilliants also, but at the same time, not to take away anything, but most of the teachers are not into continuous teaching mode. There is hardly any expenditure on teachers training. And when I met your teachers, believe me, they are all professional ones. Maybe few of them are having lesser degrees, but they have a name in their profession. You see, we have to now differentiate in education between the professional teachers and the teachers who hold the degrees, conventional degrees. It is very important, because you tell me whether Einstein went to a college, or Newton went into a college, or Galileo went into a college, or for our own Kabir Das, Meera, did they go to any college for any particular education? Because in India, we are not going by passion. We are only going by linear pattern. You see, whether it is for the students or it is for the teachers, we are just following a set pattern. But it is very important that we go by the passion. And one who has a passion to teach, one who has a passion for the material which he is giving to his students. So that is very important. And I must appreciate ISH for not neglecting the professionals, giving them a chance to teach, because even in medical profession also, let me tell you, the best doctors are not in medical colleges. They are outside medical colleges. So same is here. You have brought professionals across the world to teach your students. That is the best part. And the third is the infrastructure, Infrastructure, I have seen ISH, I have personally visited ISH. You are giving your students a feel of the atmosphere where they are going to work, as most of the students coming from middle class families, the moment we also step into a 7-star or a 5-star culture, we are a bit nervous, we are a bit hesitant. But suppose we have gone earlier, like during their studies itself, they are having a feel of a professional place where they are to work. Probably they'll be better placed when they go back to industry and then they work there. And fourth important thing is the vision and mission statement of any institute. And fifth very important thing is having tie-ups. You definitely have global tie-ups with institutes of top ranking in the hospitality management, and that is again your strength. And digitalization is another one of your strengths. You have tried to digitalize the whole institute, not only your management, but also the teaching also. And many a times we also have learned a lot from your institution. Like in COVID times, there was many things about online education, virtual classrooms, and it is a good thing to learn and good thing to appreciate that you people are doing really good, and it sets you apart from other institutions. And it is very important to stand apart in the crowd nowadays, and your institution is doing a human service. Congratulations to you and Dilip for the baby you are nurturing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Markanday. Thank you for those kind words. It actually humbles us, but also firmly tells us that we need to strive continuously. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
The truth is, this isn't the first crisis hospitality has gone through. It's simply the one we are all going through together. I think probably this is the only one after the Great Depression of 1930s where the entire world is in it together. I think there is one thought that is at the top of everyone's mind, Dilip. What impact has COVID-19 had on the hospitality industry, and how soon do you think we'll bounce back this time?
Right. Thank you, Kunal. I've had the opportunity to see a significant number of crises in my career over 30 years in hospitality. So when I think of more events and their outcomes economically, when you think of 9/11, when you think of 26/11, when you think of the financial crisis, and now when you see ourselves in a situation like COVID, I think I'll keep the discussion focused on this situation we are in, because my understanding is that a large part of our audience are potential students seeking to understand a career in hospitality and generally understand what they should do with their education in these troubled times. So I'd ask you to think of it with this perspective. There was a before COVID era, which is all our time before February, our normal as we know it. Then we are currently in what I call the during COVID time, or the DC time, where we are undergoing a lockdown. There are significant changes happening in our own social habits, in our own relationships. We may not be realizing it, particularly because you're surrounded by probably close ones right now whom you're seeing every day, so you're not seeing the changes evolve. But I can tell you we're all changing, and we're changing fundamentally, and hopefully for the better. But the more important part is the post-COVID part. And I would divide that post-COVID part into three parts itself. There's an immediate phase which many of us are beginning to experience now. Let's call it unlock, or unlock 1.0 as the government is calling it. Then there will be an entire period, what I would call the pre-vaccine period. And that will be followed by what I will call the final new normal period. So we have to prepare ourselves for all these three phases in the near term, medium term, and long term, to look at our own lives, careers, education, choices, all of those things which I'm sure are concerned to parents and to young students. So the first myth to dispel, if you understood the way the times will work out, and Kunal asked specifically about hospitality, I want to first clarify that our education does not restrict itself to just the hotel industry. Hospitality, travel, tourism, and many other services, businesses are now all under the ambit of what you call hospitality, because any true customer-centric, service-focused business has an underlying theme of hospitality. So the education is very broad-based regardless. But assuming that you thought about hospitality, if you think of it selfishly as a student, there is no better time for you to be studying and getting yourself an education than today. Thank God you're still finishing school and starting college. If you were finishing college and looking for a job, imagine how much tougher it would be for you today. But the time you have today, and when you go through this education, and education, which, as Dr. Markanday also said, is going to change by itself, the digital medium of learning, blending it with the traditional way of classroom learning, this to me is one of the new normals of tomorrow, regardless of COVID or no COVID. But I think what this lockdown has taught many of us is that it's not so difficult to embrace the habit of learning online, of learning digitally. We've all done it. I see more and more people proudly showing their certifications online of having done this course, that course. Many of these courses were available 3 months ago, but then they were nice to do, not necessary to do. अब क्या हुआ है कि लोगों को एक आदत सी पड़ गई है. And this actually is the best thing that can happen to a young student of today, because they will spend their 4 years of education imbibing this online learning, continuous learning as actually a mindset, and it will benefit them for their entire lives. Right through their professional careers also, they will never be afraid to learn, because content will get bigger and bigger, more available online, and students don't have to worry, yaar, ye mushkil hai karna hai, iske liye time nahi hai, because it's become a habit. And I think that's how you should approach your choices of education today. That is an education going to prepare me for a new normal? As you can see in the hospitality industry and many other industries today, you read people are losing jobs. Let's look at it in a slightly contrarian way or a counterintuitive way. These people who are losing jobs, many of them actually, by the way, are applying to us for postgraduate programs. People who are young in the workforce, 1 to 3 years. This is a time for them also to pause, to reboot. Why? Because the kind of skills which will be required for the future are going to be quite different to the skill set you traditionally think is what the world there needs. As it is traditionally in higher education in India, higher education was never built with employability in perspective. It seemed more like a end in itself. BA karna hai, bachelor's karna hai, graduation karna hai. We clearly have a very different approach to that. For us, it's to look at each student individually, ascertain where their personalities, attitudes, skills are, help them develop those so that they don't have a choice of one industry or one job to work in when they graduate. I mean, they should have at least 15, 20 choices. And think of it this way, ये जो नया normal होगा post-COVID के बाद, इसमें एक और चीज होगी, which is that there will be careers, jobs, businesses which don't even exist today. आपको याद है 10 साल 12 साल पहले nobody really knew about Flipkart, Amazon, Uber, Ola. They've become household names for us today in what, 10, 12 years. So what can happen as an outcome of COVID and the kind of new in the economic ecosystem, what kind of careers, jobs? This is the time for students to study and equip themselves with those skills. You're on.
Yeah, no, I just unmuted myself. Thank you so much, Dilip. I think it was really, I like the analogy which you drew about before COVID and in post-COVID. There are those three different stages which we are going to go through. Thank you so much. A similar question to you, Raghu. I'm going to go a little granular. Dilip spoke about the hospitality industry. A lot of students, a lot of parents are also kind of concerned about the F&B industry. So their children have aspirations becoming chefs, you know. While establishments might be shut right now, but this doesn't mean the culinary arts ambitions are shut. Can you tell us more about how the F&B industry across the globe are adopting to the new normal? And talk about the opportunities for the young upcoming chefs, the chef aspirants that we have.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yesterday I was in a forum with one of my friends in Australia and one in UK, and we were talking about the similar issue. And so I have something fresh which is still not published to be shared with all of you. So one of the chef friends of mine called Mark Normoyle, what he has done is he's quite famous. He had a very successful restaurant, and because of COVID, he had to shut down. But he thought out of the box. So he started delivering packed, ready to eat or ready to cook ingredients to the owners or people who are ordering through him. So, for example, if you want to eat stir-fried eggplant and you order 8 families order that, and then he does a Zoom class at 5 o'clock in the evening, and all of them cook that stir-fried eggplant with him. So it started with 5 such families, and now he has 40 families whom he delivers these ready to kit, as he calls it, and they cook with him. And so he says that he's saving on the real estate. He's also getting to interact with the families much more closely, and more importantly, he says there are no complaints now, because if the food is not good, they have cooked it the way they liked it. But most importantly, if a person wants to make changes to because of his dietary habits, they are able to make that adjustment of reducing the salt or not using oil or using butter. So I think it's more a question of thinking out of the box at this stage and coming up with solution. Another friend of mine, Vernon Menezes, who used to be a chef here, now based in UK, Leicester, he started a food truck, and he's he's taking his food to a locality or a community, wherein again everything is contactless. So the truck goes to the place, and the food is cooked fresh and served to you. I think the ambition and the aura which this industry brings to us is not going to change. It's just a question of the traditional form of serving would change or would become limiting to some extent. But as long as people are creative about how they approach food and how they serve food, there are still a number of opportunities out there.
Thanks, Rajiv. From what I'm kind of hearing, it's basically how you adapt and how you innovate at this situation. So that's essentially about the agility of the F&B industry. How agile they are, sooner they're going to recover and faster they're going to bounce back.
I think you've got to be mindful of what's existing, and if you say this is what I'm used to doing, so I'll continue to do that, that would be a failure. So we have to still have those skills, still have that knowledge, but how we interact now with the customers is going to be changing.
I'm going to shift this discussion more towards academia again. Dr. Markanday, you are the biggest proponent of mental and spiritual development of students from very early stages of their development. We've been privileged to have you expose our own students to your teachings. Most recently, taking lessons on management from the wisdom of Gita. Now, that was really exciting. Can you tell us more about this mental and spiritual development, and how do you think it will shape the graduate profile of ISH?
Yeah, surely. You see, as per World Health Organization, health has 4 parameters. One is physical, second is mental, third is social, and fourth is spiritual. That is the holistic development, in fact. So focusing only on syllabi and not focusing on other things is very important. You see, what happened, actually you said about Gita, what happened to Arjuna? Arjuna was a great warrior, trained by Dronacharya. But in the middle of the crisis, when he was into the crisis of his life, the biggest adversity when he faced, that time he tremored like anything. Even his bow and arrow slipped out of his hands. That was probably the worst kind of a situation a great warrior could be. We are also, like in COVID times, passing through the same stage. And everyone at one point or the other in his life faces such a situation when we are deep into adversity. Now, Dronacharya gave the military art to Arjuna, but who gave him the mental art? It was Lord Krishna. So we definitely have to teach our students to have a strong mental art also of dealing with the problems, because most of the students, when they come out, they break down. We are getting number of burnout situations, suicides, depressions, anxiety. Why? Because we have not taught them. We have only taught them about a living. We have not taught them about life. So we have taught them about what, where, when, how, whom, but we have not given them the want which is actually required for a student. And Gita is what is military art versus mental art, what is an insight versus information and knowledge, what is curriculum teaching versus attitude building, and that is very important. And how to differentiate between a teacher and a guru, that is also important, what Gita teaches you. And we have all gone by means, we have not gone by mentality. And believe me, Gita gives you a choice between means and mentality, between the profession and devotion. We are all professionals, but similarly, devotion is equally required amongst us. So between an occupational duty and a constitutional duty, this is very important to understand. We are normally distracted how to focus on to our things. Gita is a great teacher for that. And you see, most of the students, they come in the class, they hear, but there is a difference between hearing and listening that they must understand. And these all insights we get from Gita. We, as an institution, normally give them a treat for an outside journey. But what about the inside journey? So something has to be there. I am not only saying Gita, but all such scriptures which lead on to spirituality and develop an insight are very important to be taught to the students for their holistic development. Otherwise, you see, the kind of burnouts we had in the IT industry, especially all students doing their engineering, going to the institutions and just getting a good start and then not able to maintain it. So we have to maintain it, whatever standards we have set for ourselves, and to sustain and to persist and to have a consistent effort. It is very important that students are taught about social things, mental things, and spiritual things also along with the academic syllabus.
You're so correct. You're so correct. Being on the same point, Rajiv,
Yeah.
I just need to ask you this kind of question. We've spoken about spiritual development and mental development and how it is so important. Talk to us about the life skills as well. At the end of the day, we have these fantastic collaborations, whether it's with Eco Hotelier or it's with at Sunrise Global. What are those additional components these collaborations bring? And what is life skills?
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you, Dr. Markanday. I think you've answered part of that question already in terms of what else is required apart from the curriculum for the overall holistic growth of a student. So life skills are similar to what Dr. Markanday just spoke about. It is developing social and emotional thinking skills in the students. And these we believe are important building blocks for a dynamic citizen who can cope with not only current challenges, but challenges which will be coming in the workplace. So some of the life skills which we incorporate in our curriculum are critical thinking skills, working collaboratively with people, emotional intelligence, and research in fact says similar to obviously Gita and a lot of research done in Harvard on that. It says that it strengthens the ability of the individual to not only meet the needs and demands of the present society, but also be the leaders and say exactly where the gap is, and to get the to develop your skills to look at the desired behavior, and these imparting these skills in a way where students kind of get a holistic growth, not only in their skills and knowledge, but also in their mindset, is what this education is, which we're doing at ISH, all about.
Dilip, my follow-up question to you is, and that's precisely the reason you came into higher education. You see, moving away from this whole traditional knowledge-based, competence-based education, and you've always spoken about life skills. We would love to know your views as well on this.
I think the vision when we set out to do ISH was about building this graduate profile, which is kind of ready for the world, which, you know, somebody who's going to be first and foremost a socially responsible citizen. And I think when I hear Dr. Markanday talk about what learning something like Gita can give us, Rajiv spoke about how we build a research mindset in our students. I think very clearly for us, how we think we are different in the way we try to transform higher education is that we began with the end in mind. We looked at these young kids, and when we were bringing them into ISH, the process we followed to admit students was not typically based on their board results or an entrance exam, right? It was to just look at students who we believe have the right profile, personality, attitude, where an education like ISH can benefit them. And for us, it was that, are these the kind of students whom we can actually help guide and build them into that graduate profile, which our vision says we should have, the kind of young people we want to go out into the world, into the workforce. So in that, the biggest difference in our pedagogy is that while in traditional academic institutions, the academic knowledge and the fact that you have got that academic knowledge based on a concept like exams or marks or scores or results, I'm not saying that's going away. It has to be looked at in the context that there is a significant behavioral aspect of a student which has to be developed. And that comes by imparting what you call the life skills. Now, for example, we're also introducing students in our senior batches to the concept of coding. And some of you young students listening in, parents listening in, saying, what does coding have to do with the hospitality education? It has either nothing to do or everything to do. Coding quite fundamentally, when you आप सब लोग आजकल सुन रहे हो कोई artificial intelligence, machine learning, technology, all those things you're hearing about, it is fundamentally about the fact that humans and machines will continuously interact to make intelligence even greater, to benefit us. In that, students have to understand that language, and that fundamentally is coding. As parents, we learned ABC and K, Kh, G. If these students have a fundamental understanding of that, fundamental understanding, I'm not saying introducing them to coding is going to make them tech nerds. It is going to open their minds and build a mindset of understanding, recognizing, and adapting to the constant change technology will keep bringing in their lives. We as elder people, we've also seen a fair amount of technology come in. But what these kids are going to see is going to be of a magnitude which is several times more than it's ever been before. And you've got to prepare students to have a mindset to accept, embrace, use that to enable themselves in whatever they do. That's the kind of that's the kind of input we want to give our students, so that when they're out there in the world, all of these things, when you think about, what are these principles fundamentally you can learn from a spiritual book like Gita, or from a basic understanding of coding, or from developing a research mindset. I think where Indian traditional education, higher education lacks, is not focusing on building these skills in young people. And when you put all these skills together, think about communication. Every student is taught grooming and how to look, walk, talk, all those kind of things. The fact is, in the future, chances are more and more meetings will happen the way we are talking right now in the virtual world. When you think of what new normals are going to be, more and more people will be accepting to say, yeah, let's meet, but we can meet online. I don't have to travel in traffic to come to your office. Now, when you're going to be doing more of that, living, working, being in virtual environments, the way you are taught how to communicate traditionally has to completely change. We are taught in communication that non-verbal cues are very important. The smile reaching his eyes, the movement of hands, the body language. Now suddenly in a virtual meeting, you're not seeing all those cues. Yet, how do you effectively communicate and understand that, right? That's a part of that new skill set I talked about earlier, which even employers are going to be looking at. Do you have this skill set? This may not have been needed pre-COVID, but it will certainly be needed in the after-COVID times. Are institutions geared up to prepare students for that new normal? When you think about just the jobs and careers, as I said earlier, these students are going to be so spoiled for choice. They have to have all that understanding to say what really will work for me 4 years from today. So I think life skills blended with academic skills is the key to the future success of higher education. Another way in which we're doing it, as you know, is that our curriculums, if I were to just quickly break them up for you, they are fundamentally, in the first year, students undergo a lot of practical learning. They undergo the core of what we call hospitality. Then they go and do a 6-month internship in the industry, what we call an operational internship. But when they come back, what we call semester 4 onwards, a lot of the subjects, courses, curriculums, more or less morph into what you otherwise think is a BBA program. Whether they're studying economics or whether they're studying business, accounting, human behavior, resources, marketing, digital marketing, these are all subjects which otherwise students go and learn in traditional BBAs. The difference with our education is, along with learning those same subjects, when you are able to overlay these learning of life skills, and you're able to overlay practical vocational education by sending them out to the industry twice during their 4 years, they are able to keep pace with the changing world out there. If you're cocooned in a classroom in a university, in a college for 3 or 4 years without exposure, what you think is happening, the world has changed. It's changing faster and faster and faster. And I think that's what young students and young parents must keep a focus on today when they're making these choices of what kind of education the child needs.
Thank you so much, Dilip, for this response. I want to shift the focus now because there are a lot of questions, even with parents, about their children's future and how our education helps them get there. But before I start asking, I want to go back to Rajiv in this. And a lot of parents are asking this question, Rajiv. Our colleges, the universities are set to reopen. The question on everyone's mind is, how will the new normal work? Can you tell us? Can you talk to the parents? What exactly ISH is doing? What measures have been taken? What processes have we put in place in order to secure the health and well-being of all our students? Twisha is here. Yeah, and how will a new day in ISH look like in the new term?
So it's still going to be fun. It's still going to be interesting. But like we always say, that it needs to have certain guidelines, and we will be following the guidelines given by the university to us. That's important. We'll be following all those. And over and above that, we have formulated what is called a pandemic response team, and which is headed by our general manager of operations. And he has come up with a plan which we are calling 3P plan. So which is prevention, preparedness, and protection. So we are making sure that all of suitable measures are being taken to prevent the exposure to the virus, and that will go a long way in developing that trust. In terms of preparedness, we are bringing change to how we are even cleaning schedules, even hygiene and HACCP controls. We are ensuring that each and every, for example, high touch points like touch screens, biometric attendance units and door handles and lift buttons are being cleaned and disinfected every 30 minutes. We are ensuring that there's protection in terms of having protective gear for all the students who will be attending classrooms. Apart from that, what we have also done now is to create a kind of a bubble. We're calling it a bubble. So each bubble will have 8 to 9 students and the same teacher. So then they stay together and they live in that accommodation together. They travel together by the transport which we are arranging, and they come and have classes together. The idea is that they are then protected. It does not mean that they won't be able to interact with each other. That can still happen. We have some great societies which we are working on, and which we already have in terms of academic councils, in terms of ambassadorial council, philosophical council. But students are now working on virtual sports society, which I think is great because not a lot of sports might happen virtually. So there's already a society which is being formed now as we speak. We also have a very successful running club. So not all students are running together, but they're sharing their data. Not only students, I think the parents are also involved. We discovered yesterday in one of our webinars that parents are taking part in that running and sharing the data of how much they're enjoying that. So the interactions will happen. There will be a lot of fun, but there will be some kind of guidelines which we need to follow for those interactions.
Thank you, Rajiv. Dr. Markanday, my follow-up question to you. Basically, parents are worried. Parents are worried about examinations. Parents are worried about universities, of course, colleges who are affiliated to you as well. How will you elevate their concerns?
I think the time is tough, but there's nothing to worry. You see, otherwise also we had 3 months with us as vacations. But worst is going to be that we are only going to cut down on the vacations. Rest schedules, believe me, as Dr. Rajiv also put it across, that you are all taking safety measures, taking about the health. But best part will be once your students and staff, they come, quarantine them for 14 days. Let them be with you only for 14 days. Let them not mix up with each other. Let them stay in their hostel and their accommodations. And then you start with the classes. And I think you can distribute your classes into shifts so that less number of students are there at one point of time in the classroom. And then you can reduce the teaching hours in the classrooms also, as Dilip has rightly put it across, that we have to be tuned to all kind of virtual situations and online teachings. Yes, now it has to be a blend, as Dilip has rightly put it across, that we have to blend the online virtual education with the real-time education. So I think they need not worry. The university is very, very receptive and will try to solve the problems as much as they can be. The examinations, if of course, will purely, we are dynamically thinking that we are changing our thought process every day depending upon the COVID situation in India. But if it continues to haunt us like this, as it is haunting today, of course, one point is that we have to learn to live with COVID. We cannot bring everything to a standstill. But at the same time, if the situation does not permit, we will not be going in for examinations. We can club their examinations in December also. So the problem is only with the passing out students. The students who are passing out, and I don't see that in your institution any student is passing out. They are just going into the next semester. So there is hardly any problem with the students. We can just promote them now and take their examination around December also. We can reduce the timing of examinations also. Like what I want to convey is that lot of thought process is going on, which is going to be student friendly and the college friendly. They need not worry on this aspect. Nothing wrong is going to happen to the students. We are quite receptive. We'll listen to, we'll see to whatever kind of problems the students are facing. But someday we have to give it a go. Someday we have to make a restart. So I think slowly and steadily, as India is opening up, the institutions will open up, I suppose, in July also. But then we have to be very cautious. We have to follow a standard operating procedure for the students to be there. It is more a responsibility upon us now to bring students to the classes, because we have to be very, very vigilant, as Dr. Rajiv has rightly put it across, about everything. Like I found him very meticulous while he was telling us about the biometric attendance, the handles, the lift buttons. You see, you have to be very, very particular, because the virus goes from one hand to another. It mostly by touch rather than by the air. So we have to have a different culture altogether. We have to first, I think it will be best that once the student comes, we take their classes, which in fact tune them to new lifestyle. That will be very important. We tell them about virus. Of course, a lot of media reports are giving them everything. Everything is available on the universe, in the internet also. But at the same time, yes, within the building also, we can ensure how to behave in the building. We can teach them. We can have classes for them, so that they know how to behave, because we have to avoid touching everything. We have to be there with folded hands only. Of course, hospitality is all about folding hands. So I think in Haryana, जहाँ हॉस्पिटैलिटी के नाम पर शायद कुछ भी नहीं था, उस हरियाणा में हॉस्पिटैलिटी पढ़ाना बहुत मुश्किल काम है, एंड यू पीपल आर डूइंग ए वंडरफुल जॉब. जहाँ पर अगर किसी को कहना है कि बी ऑन द साइड, जहाँ हम कहते हैं मरले रे परे ने, है ना, एंड इफ वी स्टम्बल दे से अंधा से के, and you know this andha sa ही brought the Mahabharata to Haryana. So I think teaching hospitality, of course, in this state of Haryana, and teaching hospitality after COVID times, as the LEAP has rightly segregated into 3 parts: pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID. I think we'll have to formulate new strategies. But anyway, let me sum up by saying that parents need not worry. We are quite open, we are quite receptive, and we are students friendly. That is what I can assure from the university side to all the prospective parents and the existing parents. Thank you.
Can I add to that, Kunal?
Please.
So just adding to what Dr. Markanday just said, and again, for prospective students and parents, practically, when you are faced with a situation like this, what we've done is we've tried to plan for all kinds of scenarios. At this point, all you can do is scenario planning.
Yes.
Dates are moving goalposts. For example, as of today, and Dr. Markanday will validate this, the government is still saying that 1st August returning students can start college and 1st September new students. That's as of today. This date may change depending on how things are playing out, when the flattening is happening, all of those things. So on the one hand, we are prepared to welcome back our students 1st August on campus, putting in all the measures in place, as Rajiv explained, and bringing in new students on 1st September with all those arrangements in place, including hostels, all of those things. But what if it gets pushed out more? And that's another scenario we have to deal with. So already, for example, students of our senior batch, which is Trisha, who's here with us as well, they are meant to start their next internship in January. I can't say with any certainty that indeed everything will be absolutely normal and these kids can go out and do an internship. Ideally and hopefully they can. But if they can't, and again, thanks to the understanding of the university as well, we have enough flexibility in our curriculums and semesters to be able to move that internship a semester forward. We've already done that, for example.
Yes, we have already swapped it with the next semester, yes.
We've allowed them to do the third semester back in college rather than go out for an internship because it's simply not safe for students to go out to do internships. And I don't think hotels or any other companies would want new, untrained young people there when they are dealing with COVID crisis as well. So in every scenario of what could happen in the next 2 or 3 months, and I'm sure that's a very immediate concern for many of you as students and parents. For example, you must know that we've already started our next semesters for both our batches. Trisha's batch is already back and they are studying their 5th semester, which otherwise they would only come to college on the 15th of July. So have the semester 2 students who've now moved into semester 3. They've all started classes. And of course, the feedback came as much from the students and the parents that keep us engaged because, you know, this is a time of lockdown. I'm sure Mrs. Bhatia will validate that when she speaks as well. But we have to be prepared for every scenario. And I think I just want to give that confidence that in the way we've tried to plan for this immediate post-COVID future, keeping first and foremost the safety of your wards and our students as our primary concern. Everything else can wait. That can't wait. So we got to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place for that. And then we plan for whatever eventuality there is out there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, on this. I think, yeah, we keep student at the center of everything and rest everything we decide around them, right? We also have joining us today Ms. Bela Bhatia, mother of Kashika Bhatia, who is currently studying a 4-year culinary program with us. Welcome, Ms. Bhatia, to the session.
Thank you so much, Kunal.
Pleasure. As a parent, you have a ringside view on Kashika's progress, both academically as well as in her overall personality. Give us a sense of your experience with ISH as a parent.
I think I could probably just share that whatever you all have just talked in the last half an hour, it's all what I can see in Kashika. She's holistically grown and she's a more confident adult. You know, so that is what I think we want in the current times. We want children to be confident, be able to take their own decisions and adjust to this change, you know, which we are all going through. And thanks to ISH, I can proudly say that she's been able to, you know, work on all these skills which you all have been speaking about. She's been able to, you know, apply most of it, and she's very excited, you know, to learn new things. So what just Dilip sir said about coding, you know, I'm working for an IT organization, and what more I can promote or propagate is, and we must have IT subject as one of the curriculum. And I'm very happy, you know, that Kashika is going to pick up, and I'm asking her that I'm going to ask you questions, you know, once you attend your classes. So I think overall, if I have to sum up, she's really groomed here, and I see a different lady altogether. So thanks to all of you. I think you're already preparing them, you know, for the next wave of change in hospitality.
Correct. Thanks, Ms. Bhatia. Just tell me something. With all the preventive measures in place and all the PPE Rajiv spoke about, would you be comfortable sending Kashika, let's say, if everything is okay from August 1st?
I think definitely, because more than her, I think I'm comfortable and I trust the team. One, and second, I think the level of preparedness which you've shown in the last 2 months, you know, adjusting to this entire, you know, webinar mode learning. So I think we already are super prepared, because, you know, if this doesn't work, you can go back to again the online, you know, measures. So I see the plan A and the plan B both working well. And I think as a parent, my responsibility would be to support your, you know, your plans and see see wherein I can support the team, so that it doesn't really fall out. And second, we have every child, not only my child, but every child is safe and is able to enjoy their learning period at ISH.
Thank you. Thank you. You've always been very supportive, very kind. Thank you so much. Everyone, I'd also like you to meet Twisha. Twisha, she is a third-year hospitality student now. She just graduated from second to the third, correct?
Yes, sir.
Lovely. And she's been with us from our very first summer experience program. Twisha, my question to you. Give us a sense. What do you enjoy most about being an ISH student? Ms. Bhatia spoke about as a parent, you as a student. Yeah?
So thank you for the question, sir. It's very difficult to actually point out one thing that I actually enjoy about college, because even though we've had a lot of difficult times as well, where we worked very hard and become very tired, I, for one, would say that I've enjoyed the whole experience thoroughly. The 2 years that I've spent in college, and I say this to everyone that I meet, it's not just you guys or my parents, but everything that I have to say about the college has always been very positive. I love the experience that we get on campus or even online right now. I love the grind. I love the sense of satisfaction all of us get after completing a really hard day or a really large event. And it's just, as Ms. Bhatia also said, it's just the small things that are sure, like holistically speaking, we're all becoming so much more confident, so much more organized, just better people in general. And yeah, I really say that, ISH has made me a different person from where I was 2 years ago. But talking about my favorite part, especially right now, since we're not on campus, I definitely say that the campus was my favorite part. Even though I absolutely love the online classes that are going on right now, because they're giving me a sense of purpose at this time. I do enjoy Delish, which was our coffee shop, and I do enjoy actually sitting in class and listening to the facilitators and being physically around my friends. So I'd say that is something that I definitely miss and cherish.
Thanks, Twisha. Just kind of take us through your own experience, what really happened in the last 2.5 months, as in you were at home but yet you were consuming education like Kashika was consuming education. Just give us a sense from a student perspective. How was that experience?
So, when we were told that we were going to have online classes, a lot of us were quite skeptical about it because, of course, this is happening for the first time. But I must say, personally speaking, it's been a beautiful journey in these 2 months. Getting up at home and then rushing to dress up and look groomed and presentable for the camera and then having our classes. A lot of us thought, we would not have that sort of communication with our facilitators who've been taking our classes. But I must say, it has exceeded my expectations by a lot. The level of communication that we have, the level of education that we're still able to get is quite commendable. And, in spite of me being at home and being quite lazy many times, I have actually not missed a single class, and I've always been so motivated. Like sometimes my parents just tell me, you can calm down a little bit, just relax, you're at home. And I'm just like, no, I need to attend my classes. I need to see everybody. I need to know what's happening at campus. Like, I just want to be updated about everything. And I feel like that attitude came from ISH as well. Before ISH, I definitely would not have been this enthusiastic about it. So definitely a very good experience, very different one. And yes, I prefer being on campus, but online classes have been loads of fun and very educative.
Thank you. Thank you, Twisha. As I said, kind of motivates us as well to be right on top of our A game. All right, God bless. I'm just going to shift the segment. There are a lot of questions which are kind of coming up. I need to address a few of those questions. One of them, we understand the hardships families across the country are going through. And we want all of you to know that our education remains accessible to all students who wish to study with us. One of the key value pillars of ISH is in its diversity and of course, access to ensure global quality education. Dilip, this question is for you. You have so passionately nurtured the Flourish Foundation since its inception. What sort of new financial initiatives is the ISH Flourish Foundation taking to reflect, of course, the challenges the families are going through?
Let me first just make the point that when you look at global quality of education, world-class quality of education, there seems to be an immediate association that, oh, this must be very premium. In my view, it is clearly premium, but it's not elite. The education should be available to any and everybody who demonstrates that potential, talent, passion for benefiting from this education. And so scholarship debates are traditionally always about means versus merit. And at ISH, our practice is that we look at every student after we have ascertained. In fact, our admissions counselors typically won't go into detailed fee discussions with a student or a parent till we've ascertained that the student's the right student to join ISH. We have followed our assessment criteria of, now once that's done, we will balance the merit of the student versus the means of the ability to pay. Clearly, these times are even more challenging because post-COVID, there would be challenges for a lot of people, including us as, you know, to operate a college, you need funding as well. But the point is that this is the time to demonstrate flexibility. And this is the time to demonstrate that what all are the opportunities which can be out there, but to protect your child, to get the education if really the student has demonstrated his or her potential to be an ISH. So for example, it's a fairly common concept in the West, and it was actually pioneered by IT companies. In the West, in Europe, it's called an income sharing agreement. What we are calling it is a student support agreement. What that essentially means is that we have the confidence to educate your child to get them a great start in their careers. And whatever the means you today lack to bridge that gap between the fees and what you can pay is a part of a student support agreement where at zero interest, only when you start earning, which is 4 years from today, will you pay back into the same Flourish Foundation, which is today funding that gap for you. And it will benefit future students, and it will become a self-sustaining model. Now, this is a win-win for everybody. We're confident about it because we believe we'll give you an education which will get you a great start in your career. You should have the belief that, look, my education is being subsidized or partially sponsored, but I have an obligation after that. And then for future generations of students to come, there is an endowment and a foundation funded by alumni through these kind of agreements, and it becomes self-sustaining. It's a very simple, logical way to think about it. But today there is no better time to think about it as we, engage with students and parents to look at the merit versus means debate. So we just want to make sure and put it out there that our education is definitely not elitist. It's world class. It's of global standards and quality, but it's not elite. It should be affordable to anybody who will benefit from that education and who deserves to be there as far as we're concerned. So when you're looking at those perspectives and making your choices, please keep that in mind. And as you talk more to our admissions counselors, you'll have more information about all these opportunities we're offering.
Thank you, Dilip. It essentially basically means every deserving student who deserves to be in ISH will be in ISH. Thank you so much for this. I know it's so close to your heart as well. I have to take one last question, and then I'll have to do a wrapping up comments from everybody. Rajiv, this question is to you. Parents are asking more about our collaborations, both with Ecole Hotelier Lausanne and Sunrise. Can you let us know? How do these collaborations help us?
They help us on multiple levels. One is obviously that it gives a certification and a confidence that what we are teaching is to international level. It also, collaboration is not only limited to paper, it also allows our teachers to travel to those countries and get certified into the system of education, which is slightly different to what we do in India. For example, Swiss framework is based on QLF, which is quality learning outcomes, and we don't call them teachers any longer. We call them facilitators. We believe that students construct knowledge in collaboration with us. So it's not one-way lecture which lecture is given and a student learns something or not. What we believe in is to construct the knowledge together with the students. And that's the framework which we are working on. Similarly, with Sunrise in Singapore, our chefs have been there and been certified there. So they learn their way of teaching, and then we ensure that those practices are followed at ISH. In fact, we are improving on those practices day to day. We are understanding our students, we are understanding the pedagogy, and we are understanding what the prospective employer is looking for. And we say, okay, this is the pedagogy, whether it's experiential, whether it's liberal, or whether it's going to be constructivist, which we keep adding every year. What also it does for us and for the students is that if they go overseas for their further education, then they have that degree, and their style of learning, which is more research based, is already ingrained in them. It becomes easy for them to do their masters overseas based because of our education.
Thank you. Thank you. I will have to wrap up this segment but before doing that, yes, please. Yes, please.
Just to add to Rajiv, the collaborations also allow for students to articulate at those institutions. So a hospitality student at the end of 2 years can go and complete year 3 and 4 in Switzerland if they like. Culinary students, particularly those doing the diploma programs, can go and continue their education at Sunrise to get an international diploma. Students in our hospitality and culinary courses can have opportunities to go and do a semester abroad with any one of over 10 such partner schools EHL has globally. You can possibly go and do an internship through them as well. So the opportunities which come through collaborations like this certainly improve and help with our pedagogy, our teacher training, the way we're delivering education, but they have a lot of other tangible benefits for students to get a more broad-based, wider exposure during their education itself.
Thank you, Dilip. Dr. Markanday,
Yeah.
your final comments. You're a parent yourself. You've spoken about Haryana. I always say, and I steal a line from you. Haryana में सवेरा है तो ISH का बसेरा भी हरियाणा में ही है, right? What would you like to tell all our parents?
Regarding what do you want to know from me?
About university, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. I'm not talking about COVID. A lot of them are sitting on the fence. They're still thinking about things. What would you like to tell them?
I personally feel, and I have been telling it on various platforms, we have got a very receptive government. You have got a very receptive university. And as Dilip has rightly put across, we cannot have a one tailor-made solution. It is dynamic. It has to change from day to day. And we are always thinking and rethinking. We are also learning, unlearning and relearning. That is what COVID time is. And as somebody rightly pointed out, that it's time to keep the students engaged. Nothing to worry. We can, as you have already started with the next semester, I think it is best. We are also on the university side with our department starting with the next semester. Do not wait for the examinations. Just keep on sharpening your skills. That is very, very important. And somebody was just putting across a question about practicals. Yes, parents need to be worried about practicals. But suppose we finish the theory now, then we can devote time for practicals also in later semesters. But at the same time, I think COVID is going to be there. It is not going to leave us till the time we find out a vaccine, till the time the herd immunity develops. So I think we have to learn to live with COVID. And it is a time which is a very tough time, not only for India, but across the world. And it has given time us to introspect. I think if people say COVID was bad and physical distancing and lockdown were bad, I say there were opportunities also. And we must find opportunity in every adversity. COVID has given us to develop so many things. I think what you were teaching at your college, people have started learning from internet also. I find daily, everybody becoming a chef at home. Everybody, you see, people have tried their hands on culinary skills, and it has in fact increased the culinary skills, and it is going to be a challenge with you to train your students much more than what people know at home. And I think ISH is doing a wonderful job. And if I am to give an analogy, it is a very popular analogy that somebody was catching fish across the river, and he was doing a peculiar thing, that he was throwing out the larger fish and keeping the small fish with him. Somebody noticed at this typical behavior and asked, "What are you doing, man, throwing away the larger fish and having the smaller fish?" He said, no, back home I have a very small pan with me. Now somebody suggested him, "Oh man, instead of catching smaller fish, why don't you increase the size of your pan?" ISH has in fact increased the size of the pan for students, and now it is for the students to avail the best what is available to them. Need not worry, think about the present. 2020 is a year for survival. All those who will survive and will remain free of COVID will be the winners in 2021. So believe me, right now it is health which is upmost, it is your safety which is upmost, and if we are able to survive 2020, we will be winners in 2021. Thank you very much, Kunal, Dilip, and Rajiv ji, for having me here. Thank you, ISH, and all the best for your all the future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Dr.
Dr. Markanday.
Thank you.
Dilip, your final advice to our parents?
Actually, more than final advice, I was just going through the Q&A and I saw a few questions which time is not permitting. So maybe I'll just cover those literally randomly. There's one from a foreign student, whether he or she would be able to join. Clearly, if colleges, universities are allowed to open, international travel restrictions are eased and visas are available, absolutely you can join. But that's not a definitive answer I can give you as of now, because it's co-dependent on many things which the government does. Even if colleges are open, will international students be allowed to come? Time will tell. But my sense is, if you're keen to join us, start the planning and preparation and have a couple of scenarios and plan Bs as well. You could think of starting, where we can pick you up from the next semester onwards. So talk to our admissions counselors and we can help. There were a couple of questions asking about what changes in hospitality, will there be jobs, will the industry change? I think I addressed most of that in my earlier comments. But as I said, the reality is that your students are going to be in university today, they're studying. If by 4 years from now, if the hospitality industry hasn't not just recovered, but is thriving even better than it ever was before, then I don't think anything else will be surviving. The concept of travel, tourism, experiences, these are ingrained in human nature. They will evolve in different ways, and this industry will come out stronger. I speak a lot at industry forums for hospitality, and I think there's unanimity that while there'll be a new normal, hotels today are taking standards of hygiene, safety to a different level. That has to be there during the pre-vaccine period. But once everything comes back to normal, I think this industry, like almost all other sectors of the economy, will bounce back even stronger. So I don't think any of you looking at careers here should have any worries at all on that account. Somebody made a comment that all the practices we're putting in place, which even Rajiv talked about to keep students safe, can we put it in the form of a video or some more visuals? Absolutely, that's feedback which Kunal will try and incorporate.
Yes.
For those of you who can travel and who are, Gurgaon, Delhi based, can certainly now come and see our campus for themselves as well, since our campus is open and our teams are working out of the campus right now. There was one question which just says, can you describe what hospitality is? I think again, I made that comment very early. I said, any business which has an element of customer centricity in it is a hospitality business. When you provide a service, whatever it is, you provide software as a service, you provide food as a service, you provide travel information as a service. Every time you're providing something as a service, that's what hospitality is. So it's not hotels, it's not just restaurants. It is all that, but it's so much more And I can promise you that our education incorporates such elements to make sure that you're not restricted to a career in one industry or two industries, but in a range of different businesses. And my parting thought to you, businesses, careers, as I've said before, which may not even exist today, but will be the careers of the future. Your students will be prepared for those. Thank you again very much for your time. Thank you, Kunal.
Lovely. Thank you, Dilip. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, my valued parents and guardians, for listening in our session today. I hope your questions have been answered and your worries to rest. Before we sign off, just like to say that ISH, we are more than an institution. I know this phrase, it might be overused, but we truly mean it. We are a community. We care for each and every one of our students. We know the families very well. We know what they go through. We are there with them every step of the way. Our doors, as Dilip rightly said, are always open to you. Please reach out to our admissions team for anything you might need, any questions you might have, and we're always there. We will overcome these challenges together and celebrate the great tomorrow we have built for your children. Stay safe, everyone, and thank you so much for your time again on Sunday. Dr. Markanday, Dilip, Ms. Bhatia, Twisha, and Rajiv, thank you so much for your time today. And everybody, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.